Hey guys, Aaron here with All Good Fabrications. I've got a new product to talk about today. This is a Molle panel for the rear interior doors on the 2019 and newer Sprinter vans. It's going to add a lot of convenient storage space to the rear of your van. You can tie things down. You've got hooking points here, and you can add Molle panel pouches. There's all sorts of pouches. You can search Molle panels anywhere online, Amazon. One of my favorite is the admin pouch. It's pretty large. It's kind of just the right size. You can assemble these all over these grids here, and they just snap into place. So you're probably already familiar with Molle panels if you're looking at this product, but basically it's just a grid of holes, and you can slide accessories into the rear and snap these into place. Mix and match all different sizes. Things that just tend to accumulate in the van. Tools, small spare parts for your mountain bikes, whatever you have. Very convenient to add these to the rear doors with some good storage for some otherwise unusable space, and they've got a good, nice look to them also. So these are made from 5052 aluminum. We use 1/8 inch thickness just to give it a very robust and rigid feel on that. And we've got one for the driver and the passenger door. These are powder coated texture black, and to set things off just a little bit more for a nice touch. Instead of using aluminum on the inside, we use a ABS plastic. This is 3/32 or 90 thousandths thick, and these fit on each door. I have the driver's side here, but they kind of match. Sometimes your van is going to come with the texture plastic right here. This was a crew van, so it's got the extra cutouts. We're going to be developing some block off plates for these as well, but we won't be doing anything with this today. We're just going to show you how to install this Molle panel in the factory door. You're not going to need many tools, but I'll show you what you need and we can get on with the install. So first thing you're going to need is a drill bit. The rivet nuts that we're going to include with this kit, here we are. These are 1/4 rivet nuts. So the door, everywhere you're going to drill out on these doors where the factory sheet metal gets stamped, there's an indentation. Those are the only holes that we're going to drill out. And I've already got mine drilled from prototyping, so I won't be actually showing you how to drill the door today. But you're going to drill it out with these have a 350 thousandths 0.35 diameter on the outside. So I find a 3/8 drill bit works great, and I always like to use step bits. When you're drilling through the van, this is thin sheet metal already. So these kind of, step bit kind of keeps the drill more controlled, and I find that with the thin sheet metal, you just take a 3/8 drill bit and drive through that door. It likes to really kind of grip the drill, and it'll advance very quickly through that hole, and you risk hitting the other side or something you don't want to hit, potentially dent the outside skin. So I use step bits a lot just when I'm drilling out the van. Tons of rivet nuts in this van. Something I always do after I drill things out, you can get a deburr tool. You just deburr your hole a little bit, and then you're going to take, I like to use 415, but any kind of rust preventive paint will do. And I like to paint where I drill a hole, just so you don't have exposed bare metal that can create rust later, and you're going to want to paint your holes. Now, other than that, you're going to need a rivet nut install tool, and that's going to thread in. So I left this over here. I'm going to turn off the camera and I'll be right back with that tool. Guys, I'm just showing you a close-up of the stamped, or the panel portion on the door panel. You're going to drill only the ones with the indentions, and if you're curious on which ones need to be drilled, you can always just hold this up against the door right there, and you can see plainly the ones that you need to drill. So that's another way
helpful way to, make sure you're not going to drill out extra holes you don't need to. They'll all get covered. You definitely don't want to drill any holes, obviously outside of the pattern, just as a caution. But there we go.
Alright, so I got the rivet nut tool here now. This is a pneumatic tool. If you're going to be building out your van, I actually suggest these. They're just really quick and really convenient to use. They speed you up a lot. You can do this very easily with just the regular hand style rivet nut install tools. I'll put a link to some on the website just so you can have some options to check out. But there's a threaded mandrel right here, and this rivet nut's simply going to thread on. So after you've drilled out all your holes here to 3/8, you'll be able, and you've painted your holes for corrosion resistance, you'll be able to install your rivet nuts. Now I've got this bracket here, it's just a scrap bracket. I've already drilled out a hole to 3/8 in here. And I'll show you how this rivet nut tool works if you haven't seen that before. So let's hook up our air real quick. I've already threaded this in. You're just going to insert your rivet nut into the sheet metal, just like you would here on the van. Just pull that trigger, and now we have a nice threaded hole there with our rivet nut inserted. I'm just going to spin out my mandrel. A hand tool works the same way. You're just going to, put a little bit of effort into it and install that. So that's all you do. Alright, so now I'm going to take our passenger side, and this kit is going to come with, your hardware might look slightly different, but you'll get a hardware package, and it's going to come with these black spacers, and you're going to put the ABS panel on first, then the black spacer, and then your actual aluminum molle panel is going to go on after that. And like I mentioned, your hardware may look different. And these are the first set of these that we've ever made, and we have a lot more powder coat, so they'll be available for order very soon. But the way I like to do this, with just one person, is you can set up your ABS and your panel here, and I'm just going to hold up the spacer and go ahead and insert my bolt, and now I can kind of hold it together. Also going to grab a 5/32 Allen wrench. I'm going to find that hole where the rivet nut is. I'm just kind of support this nut a little bit. I'll go ahead and just start one. I like to use the top and middle. So once I'm sure I have it started, I'll just kind of hang there, hold it for me. And then we're just going to put in all of our spacers and bolts. And then once we get them all in, you've got a little bit of clearance here in these holes. So once we get everything centered up and it's looking like we want it to look, and then we're just going to tighten everything down afterwards. So I like to put all the bolts in first before I tighten anything up. I'll go to like the opposite corner over here. And just get that bolt started. I'm just going to keep repeating so we have all the bolts in. Grab that one in a minute. Sometimes you just might have to move things around just a little bit to get them started easier. And then we'll go to the other side and look at the finished result. Alright, so I'm just taking my 5/32 Allen wrench and make sure everything snug down on this panel. We've already tightened these, we're just double checking. And come over here. Push up on these just a little bit. Do the same thing. You don't really have to torque these down super tight or anything, just nice and snug, maybe just a little bit more, and then you're good to go. Okay, so there you have it. That's the install for the rear molle panels on the Off-Grid Fabrications 2019 Sprinter van. So, love these things. I ended up putting these under the headliner shelf up front, and had a couple, extra empty pouches at first, and now they're all full. So, really get a lot of use out of these, and looking forward to having these on the van. If you have any questions, just give us a call, check us out online, and we'll see you on the next video.